Welcome back to Life Force channel, where we celebrate and connect with the individual who have profound impact on their industries and on their communities. I'm your host Joel, and I'm so excited today to introduce you to the true legend of music scene of Ahmedabad, Mr. Mark Haydon. Welcome, Mark. I'm so excited to have you today here and I see this beautiful studio. Let me share what Mark is all about. Mark has been a cornerstone of the Ahmedabad music scene for decades, with a career that spans over 40 years. In this episode, we'll be diving into his extraordinary journey, exploring the vibrant music scene of the 70s and 80s, and discovering the experience that have shaped him into the iconic guitarist and mentor he is today. Let's welcome Mr. Mark Haydon. Welcome, Mr. Mark.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Looking forward to the interview.
Great.
And it's a great initiative that you've been doing here. So thank you. A lot of kudos to you.
Thank you, Mark. First of all, when I entered here, I was like blown by all the pictures and the gears you have. I mean, you have invested a lot of money over the years for these gears. It shows your passion for music. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a set of questions, Mark, which I'm going to ask you. And because a lot of new musicians, they are not so excited or passionate like in your times there used to be. So I am trying to bring this effort that the musicians see this and learn like what real passion is. People talk about passion all the time, but they really don't know what passion is. So I wanted to go to the people like you who have experienced that and are living their dream life. So I have these questions. We'll start off with them.
Sure.
All right. So Mark, what first inspired you to pick up the guitar when you were growing up?
I was actually very fortunate to live in the city where there were 3 bands in the same vicinity. As a little boy, I grew up watching the beginning of the Purple Flower. I used to see Whiskey just opposite my house practicing and forming the band with Peter Flory, who was the senior musician at that time. There was another very eminent band called the Scandals at that point in time in Ahmedabad, and then another band called the Excellence. And many people would not know, but the legendary architect Errol Rubin was a jazz drummer, and he used to play for a band called the Electrons. So there was a very vibrant music scene there in Ahmedabad. And that sort of influenced me because, of course, I didn't play the guitar at that time. I learned to play the guitar after I passed out of college.
Okay.
But yes, those were my early heroes, actually seeing live musicians play.
Lovely. And what year this might be?
Oh, this was somewhere in the 70s.
Wow.
Early 70s, where these bands were beginning to form. And it was amazing to see that,
Great.
So that became an early inspiration. Also, my parents had a lovely, very vibrant record collection. And we used to listen to records in the old days. Put on a record in the evening and actually listen to it. There was no television, no internet, no YouTube, no Instagram. Listening to music.
So even listening to music must be a very sincere job because you just don't listen to it for passing your time, but it used to be fun, right?
In those days, unlike today, you had to work very hard to buy a Led Zeppelin record. You would have to go for a job, earn that money, collect it and go to the record shop and buy that. And bring that home, open the cover, look at the album, call your friends over and sit and listen to it.
Wow.
So music had a value, I feel so.
Yes.
Back then. Now you can listen to anything free.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. I'm not saying which one is better, but it's different.
It's different, yeah. Who were your biggest musical influences and heroes during your early years? May it be international, national, or the local ones?
Well, obviously the local were the first actual live musicians I saw.
Okay.
But then, yes, the Jimi Hendrix, a very dear friend gave my mom a Jimi Hendrix album. And that was my first, that was around 1969.
Wow.
Jimi Hendrix, then came Deep Purple, then came Led Zeppelin, and all the bands that flowed through. We collected those records. There was a record store in Ahmedabad called Parikh's Department Store, and they had a record center there. You'd go into the shop, pick up your album, put it onto the turntable, listen to it, and take it home.
Wow,
So those were my early influences, all these great artists.
amazing. And when did you first start collecting the guitars?
My first guitar collection happened, I started after around the 80s. I started because I did not know how to play a guitar. So you can see there's almost 10 years would have passed before by listening to music and actually picking up the guitar.
Wow.
I started a job and I was very bored with the job and I thought, why don't I try and learn the guitar?
Lovely.
And the first time I tried to learn the guitar, I gave up. I couldn't learn it. So I thought guitar playing is not for me. That was post-college.
Oh.
And then, yes, then I started learning again, self-taught.
Mm.
Nataraj bookstore used to have,
Yes.
books, so I used to go and pick them up. A few books were available.
Lovely.
And that's there. And then slowly, but our guitar collection was very modest.
Mhm.
We used to go to Gandhi Road and buy guitars.
Okay.
I can't remember the name, but they were all very indigenous guitars with microphonic pickups. Those are our guitars. The guitar collection actually started post 83, 84.
Wow. So, which one is your oldest guitar that you own right now?
The oldest guitar is my 1976 Fender Stratocaster. Unfortunately, I don't have it right here, but that was my first prized guitar, an American Stratocaster, which a friend brought for me in 1984. That is my oldest guitar.
Okay.
But I do have a couple of very old vintage guitars, which is a 1983 Carlos Santana
Yeah.
Yamaha. I can take it out and show you somewhere during the interview.
Absolutely. And I also see, Mark, this strange looking processor. What is this actually?
This is the legendary VG99.
Okay.
The Roland VG99, which I think is the Sinclair of guitar processors.
I see.
Right around 1994, I've been very interested in guitar synthesis.
Okay.
Having watched Leslie Lewis of Colonial Cousins bring the first GR700 into India,
Wow.
I'd gone to his house and I saw that lying on the floor.
Wow.
And I became interested in guitar synthesizers. And then I started collecting them over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guitar modeling, synth modeling, amp modeling unit that is absolutely amazing. It's used by a lot of legendary artists, including Steve Vai, Pat Metheny, and Adrian Belew, to name a few.
Wow. So you need a dedicated guy to operate this while you're performing, right?
No, it's controlled with a foot controller over here.
Oh, yes.
There is a foot controller which enables you to, use it with dual expression pedals. So it's completely programmable. You can even play it hands-free also.
Lovely. Yes.
So
This is the first time I've seen this kind of guitar synthesizer, and it got me
you can even control it with
seems like the technology from the current years only, right? I mean,
This is an old unit. This was introduced by Roland in 2007.
whoa.
So it's been around, this technology. I see with a lot of amusement people viewing this wireless technology. They're all excited, but this is Roland brought it in many years ago.
Wow. So since when do you have this one?
I bought this around 2008.
Wow.
2008. But these are this is a collector's piece. I have two of them. They are no longer available. Roland no longer manufactures them, and they're a little complex to use and program.
Okay.
Like all guitar synthesizers. So even the guitar that I use, it's a Fender Stratocaster, but it's actually a 13-pin enabled guitar that drives this unit. So I'm not actually using the normal pickups. I'm using this 13-pin unit to drive this. So you can use a lot of crazy sounds from this unit. From organic synths to guitars and modeling, everything.
Mark, can you play something out of this? Let's hear the sound.
Sure, I can just, this is just a blues track.
Okay. That was brilliant. I mean,
Thank you.
the whole concert, dude.
Thank you.
Amazing one. Okay, Mark, can you share a memorable experience that you had back in the days?
Oh, that's the interesting part is my brother and I both play guitar at home. So having, a brother who sings and plays guitar is definitely a great inspiration because, you have another musician in the house to connect with. So we decided to form this band with Cedric Fernandez, having met at his wedding.
Okay.
And there was a drummer in Indian Institute of Management. His name is Sharat Tyagi.
Okay.
So around 1983, we got in touch with him and said, let's form a band. And he says, let's do our first rock show. So our first rock show was held in B71 in IAM.
Okay.
So then we made handwritten posters and stuck it at the NID and at the School of Architecture.
Wow.
So obviously those gentlemen in architecture found it very funny that there's a rock show happening in a classroom in IM. So they all came, with a smile on their faces.
Okay.
And after hearing us, they were pretty happy. And then they called us over to architecture to play. And we just played non-stop from 8 o'clock in the evening till 4 in the morning.
My God.
And we just kept playing all our songs, Iron Maiden, Led Zeppelin, Hendrix, Deep Purple. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then that was the show that cemented our ties with the School of Architecture. And we were virtually the resident band from 1983 to 1990.
Wow.
We played at almost every show at the School of Architecture from that year on. So that was a memorable performance.
Just like you showed me your book, it shows the entire history. I mean, there's so much to speak
There's a lot of shows that we did.
Yeah. Amazing. So
that was the first one.
The first show was in IMA.
IMA, then we went into School of Architecture. The other memorable performances were finally winning Mood Indigo in Mumbai.
Wow. Moody.
Best band, best drummer,
Amazing.
best guitar player, all the prizes we took. So that was another, and that set our band where we started performing across the country.
Wow.
Rang Bhavan, and with all the major artists, including Indiscreet and Ehsan and Ranjit Barot. We shared stages with everybody, from Louis Banks to all of them at all these fairs. At that time, Rang Bhavan was a very big hub of, performances. Unfortunately, it's no more. So that was the second, major, what we did.
Yeah.
But around 1992, suddenly India changed.
Okay.
And the Star TV platform came in with Star Plus, MTV,
Right.
Star Sports. Before that, we had Doordarshans.
Right.
And then suddenly there was MTV. So we said, why don't we make a video? My brother and I said, why don't we make a video and put it up on MTV? So we called a friend or a couple of people to film us, and they found it very funny that because MTV was inaccessible there at that point in time.
Okay.
We recorded this music in Bombay with Vijay Banegal, who was the audio engineer who currently does sound for Shankar Ehsan Loy.
Okay.
He mixed our album, those own compositions in Bombay.
Wow.
We shot the film and we were probably the second artist on MTV
Oh my God.
in 1992. So that was another memorable performance.
This I heard that you were the first band in Asia to be on MTV.
That's right.
Right.
Very shortly after that, there was another band from Bangalore called Millennium. They joined in.
Lovely.
I think we were telecast on 4th of November 1992. The first solo artist who came on MTV was Jasmine Barucha, a singer from Bombay.
Okay.
And then very shortly, a week later, Indiscreet and Millennium they came in. So it was just a question of a week's difference. After that came Alisha Chennai, Babu Cycle and all of them.
Yeah.
So
The 90s era.
yeah, then they all came in. So the 90s were pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That's the performance part of it. Then we got selected by Roder Records for the compilation CD in the US.
Okay.
And one of our songs, own composition, 6 Day Week, also made it to the top 20 artists of America in 1992 or 1993.
Wow.
That was the performance era. Of course, there are tons of stories of all our shows across, but I think these are the few.
Amazing. So great. I want to know more about the Ahmedabad music scene, Mark. For example, how would you describe the Ahmedabad music scene back in 70s and 80s? How used to be the crowd and how was the entire scene in Ahmedabad city?
That's a nice question. I'll split it into two. The 70s, were different and the 80s were different.
Okay.
In the 70s, there were 3 places in Ahmedabad where you could go and have a dance to music on a Sunday afternoon. There was a restaurant called Haydon restaurant near Town Hall.
Okay.
Another restaurant called Aroma restaurant next to Nataraj Cinema on Ashram Road.
Okay.
And a third one called Bankura next to the Rupali Cinema on the old part of the city.
All right.
And every Sunday around 12 o'clock, they would have a jam session. And there would be people coming there and dancing to music.
In 70s?
In the 70s.
Wow.
A very vibrant music culture. In the 80s, that sort of culture died out. The bands moved on, whatever. And then the School of Architecture became the hub of great musicians. And you asked me about my other influences. The other influences were watching people for the first time. For the first time, I saw a Bombay band in 1980. Ranjit Baro,
Yeah.
Babu Chaudhary,
Yeah.
Ronnie Desai, and later on Dinsha Sanjana.
Okay.
And they played a gig at Architecture, and it just blew my mind. And that cemented, the dream to become a guitar player.
Wow.
So then the School of Architecture is to conduct a lot of shows with these great bands coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Many years later, in 1985, we shared stage with S.R. Nurani and Sanjay Devecha. They had a band called Crosswinds.
Right.
And my brother Philip, Cedric, and we have the drummer, Kalyan Pathak. We shared stage with them.
Amazing. So we used to get that kind of crowd back in those days.
Yes, there was a very, very enlightened crowd. And people were serious about music. There was no other entertainment. It was a rock show.
Right.
If you had to hear a musician, you'd either listen to it on a record or you'd watch the band.
Mm.
There was no film or TV or YouTube to look at a musician.
Exactly.
So these influences were few.
Right.
And that really made a big difference.
Wow. That's an enlightening knowledge. What kind of venues and opportunities were available for the musicians back then? Like you explained, there were 3 restaurants and then the architecture took over. Were there any other venues where people would gather and just jam?
One would be IAM. They would have their regular chaos festivals and all, so that would happen. Also, Natrani was a very big area. Malika Sarabhai used to, have, and bands would come there and play.
Okay.
Not many, but then yes, that was another venue. I think the NIDI, we never played there, of course, also had a kind of, place where bands would come in and perform.
Right.
But that was it. It was basically restricted to this.
Okay.
The other halls in Ahmedabad, like Premabai Hall and all, would cater to the Bollywood, there's really...
Right.
So, yeah.
So there used to be this band. When I was first introduced to Ahmedabad rock scene, at NID I saw a band named Dry State. They used to play all the rock and metal songs. So that was like the first band I ever saw. And then I figured out like, oh my god, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And then I discovered you guys and oh my god, it's been going on since 70s.
Yeah, right. There were a lot of bands then. Around the 90s, there was an explosion of bands.
Yes.
A lot of bands came on the scene, and then there were all sorts of venues, Dinesh Hall, and they used to have a lot of shows. And I lost touch of the bands then, because by then I was moving into my studio scene of building a recording studio.
Okay.
And probably late 90s, my brother and I started building a recording studio.
I see.
And we were not so actively playing by then.
Right.
And we decided to start a very unusual recording studio with all analog tube gear.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the first kind of, equipment like the Nantaris Auto-Tune and optical tube gear we brought in there in the 90s.
Okay.
So, but yes, coming back to your question, there were a lot of bands performing in these venues.
Great.
But by then I had sort of moved out of the music scene.
Mm-hmm. How has the music scene in Ahmedabad changed since the early days that you have been performing?
Back then it was rock.
Mm-hmm.
The concerts were rock. It was called a rock concert.
Yes.
Now we have diverse music tastes.
Mm-hmm.
We have Bollywood and indie and a lot of... So it's actually expanded.
Mm-hmm.
But it's no longer, that niche thing of rock and blues.
Right.
So there's a lot of other musical formats and genres that have come in, and a lot more opportunities.
Right.
Back then, there was only one audio vendor called Art Dolat.
Yeah.
Old timers would know that.
Mm-hmm.
Now we we have a plethora of sound,
Yes.
people, and you can see there is a vibrant music scene. So, yes, it's not all rock music. It's indie music, and Bollywood is very big.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Everyone's listening. At least people are listening and playing music.
Exactly. So, back in the days when I was learning guitar and trying to become a rock star, there was this thing that these Western musicians would have, like, we are the higher ones than the other ones. So it actually set apart two different crowds, like the Bollywood ones and the metal or the rock ones. But what you're saying is like amazing. It is a big, vast opportunity for everyone to expand, right? Amazing.
Absolutely. I learned that when I got into my recording studio, when we had to compose songs for different people.
Exactly.
Like Malika's Devi, which my brother and I composed along with Malika Sarabhai, was a fusion of Sanskrit and different musical styles. So, you have to keep your mind open and listen to all kinds of music and play and celebrate.
Amazing. That's a really great thing.
That's important. So there's no such thing as... See, music is not competition.
Exactly.
Okay, it's not about who plays faster, who plays slower.
Yeah.
And it's all about enjoying yourself.
Exactly. So amazing. Can you share some of your most memorable performances from those years? What made them stand out? Like any one of the performances that you can never forget in your life?
Definitely Winning Mood Indigo was one, for sure. Another memorable performance, if I have to point out, would probably be the Rang Bhavan CBS concert.
Okay.
Where it was a 3-day concert with Remo, Louis Banks, and a plethora of artists, Gary Lawyer, and a lot of bands performed there. So that was another very memorable kind of concert. And of course, all the shows that we did at Architecture were all very, very, very memorable in their own way. So, but these two definitely stand out. We did a show in Baroda in 1987 for drought relief. We had 40,000 people there in the University ground. It was massive. Roger Drago came in from Bombay with his sound system, and it was a crazy. I still have a photograph of that venue. You will see it. It's a sea of people. So, that was crazy.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk about the academy. I see that you have been teaching here, and what inspired you to start teaching the guitar?
I'm a late entrant to the teaching game. I started teaching in around 2017.
Okay.
It was my brother and I both had a corporate job. We worked for 39 years. So music was never a full-time thing. And we used to practice after hours of working. So the first thing is, if people say that they don't have time to practice, you can find the time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to give back. I had a huge collection of equipment and had already done my Trinity, and I can read and write music. So I thought, why don't I start teaching and giving back, to the community what I picked up over the years.
Lovely.
So I have a large collection of guitars and effect processors and pedals, and I said to myself, let me use that to teach people. So young kids can come to my academy and sort of actually experience all this equipment and play it, which they could not be able to do in another thing. And teach them about music. That's for sure.
And then you've been connected with Trinity College of Music London for quite a long time, right?
I became an academic consultant for Trinity College London in 2018. 2018. So that's been a recent development. And I do seminars and workshops across the country. Fortunately, after the lockdown, we discovered the online method of teaching, and that has become the de facto norm of giving webinars for people who want them. Nice. So Trinity does that. I mean, we do that for teachers and students.
Right. So do you even have recorded courses for the students that might want to learn from foreign countries or things like that?
I haven't really worked out a recorded course, but yes, possibly I might think of doing that. But yes, there are a lot of people who are doing it, especially in the West. They have a lot of recorded courses. I teach a one-to-one, a very limited number of students. And that's how I give them my personal time. But yeah, thanks. I think a recorded course would make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the most important for aspiring guitarists to focus on their journey?
That's a tough question to answer. You said focus. I think focus, perseverance is the key. It beats talent. Consistency beats talent anytime. So, number one. Number two, we live in a very distracted world. We have Instagram and Facebook and all distracting us, and there are tons of other distractions. So it's very difficult for a young guitarist to stay focused entirely on practicing it. We were a lot fortunate back then. We didn't have anything to look at. We just had to listen to the music and try and practice it. Now, a student has a lot of distractions, so he should stay focused if he wants to be good at it. But I have another point. If you pick up an instrument because you love it, you will be playing it for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
If you pick it up because you want to become a rock star, you want to make $1 million, well, good luck. But then if they don't meet your expectations, you might give up playing the instrument.
Right.
But if you really love having this guy in your hands, or whatever piano or whatever instrument you play, you will play it for a very long time, right? Till you're an old,
Absolutely.
So that's important. So do you love that instrument, or are you doing it because you want something else?
Exactly.
So
and then there would be a lot of inquiries that might be calling you, sir, I wish to learn it in next 6 months or a year. How do you respond to them?
Well, I'll tell them if you have the talent. First of all, I'll ask them what exactly are their musical goals. What do they want to do? That's the first thing. And if they tell me they want to become a rock star, then I'll tell them that, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a vision of becoming a rock star, but then don't get disappointed if it doesn't happen. Okay, so that's what you have to do. It's nice to have a great goal and a lofty goal, but also break down your goal into small steps, practice and get better at your craft, and see what happens. Yeah. We are always competing actually, and everyone says, I want to be better. You stick to your lane and make sure you're better the next day than you were the previous day. You will get there.
Like that saying, the only competition that you have is yourself.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Looking back at your musical journey, Mark, what are you most proud of?
Another difficult question. I'm quite happy that I've been able to, my love for this instrument has sustained over the years. The rest of the things have come and gone, but we both, Philip, my brother and I, we both love playing this instrument.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of the fact that I'm still in love with the guitar after all these years. Yeah. So I think that's most
amazing.
Yeah. And that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, and that's a really great thing to say, because most of the times the kids pick up the guitar just to look cool or different from the crowd. But then the love that you share for the guitars, it keeps on driving you for our entire life, right?
The guitar is a very cruel master. He's the boss. There is not a day when I pick it up and I play it and say, oh my God, what am I playing today?
Okay.
It's a very demanding master, so you have to serve it well.
Right, absolutely. And then a lot of questions are there, like the students who have no clue what electric guitars are. So what are the basic requirements for owning the electric guitar? You can't just buy the guitar amplifier and start, right? There has to be a chain.
Well, a lot of people ask me, shall I start with acoustic and go to electric? Well, yes, that is one way, but I tell them that both these instruments, although they share the same DNA and the same string, but they are actually two different instruments. They both sound different, and they are actually different instruments, and the techniques involved are different. So, if you look at any of these graded syllabuses, they generally start with an acoustic guitar and then move on to electric guitar.
Right.
So once the students' hands are probably set, they can move into electric guitar and then sort of study the instrument.
Right.
But what is missing, I think, is that the guitar is a very funny thing. Guitar players are very strange. They have a huge collection of pedals and they'll keep discussing it for hours. But the sound of the guitar, the amplifiers, the effects are very much a part of that instrument as the instrument itself.
Right.
So we try and impart that knowledge to the students so they can understand, like what's the British sound, what's the American sound, what is the American amp, what's the British amp, how did Jimi Hendrix get his tone, how did Ritchie Blackmore get his sound. These are also important things to look at rather than just reading the music and playing.
So about your gears, like were you this processor guy or were you the analog guy?
For all my life, there are two different worlds, and it's a big debate going on right now. If you check on the internet,
Yes.
the digital modeling versus the analog, and everyone's arguing, and everyone's now some of these great artists like Atul Govind here, he's gone completely digital.
Yeah.
Some of them have gone partially digital. Some of them are analog. So that battle goes on. I live in both worlds. I live in the amp world because I have a huge collection of pedals and amps.
Right.
And I live in the digital world. Now, in silent stages, where you have to play very softly, in-ear monitoring, sometimes the sound guy doesn't want a loud amp on stage. And then sometimes if you have a rock and roll gig at a place, there's nothing like carrying an amp, putting on a couple of pedals and playing. So I have both. But I also sit in the third world. I sit in the modeling world. I have the guitar modeling and the amp modeling along with it, which is again a very different, it's a third thing. So I also have that. So they're all sit together happily, depending on the gig.
I see this guitar. That's the one you were talking about, right? The Yamaha guitar.
Oh, that is a simple silent guitar. I will get you the Santana. I will get the Santana guitar.
So as this is the guitar you were talking about, right? The Santana one.
Yes, this is the Yamaha SG 2000. This is a gift from my brother Philip. Okay, he's a big collector of these guitars. He has 4 of them. I think he's given to another musician also, an eminent, I will not mention. So he's also gifted one to him. And this was called a Les Paul killer.
Les Paul killer.
Les Paul, in fact, I mean, the Gibson company put a suit on them for using the term SG 2000.
Yeah.
It's a magnificent guitar, and Carlos Santana recorded his Europa album with this guitar.
Carlos Santana himself.
Yeah. This is not the same guitar that Carlos Santana used, but the same model.
Yeah.
This is the Carlos Santana model, and it's heavy. It's a
So
pity
heavy.
they don't make guitars like this anymore. We want more it. Yeah.
That's pretty heavy. I mean, I would have the back ache if I practiced on standing for 2 hours. Amazing.
Tube amps and guitars like this are very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And you asked me about the modeling and digital.
Yes.
As you grow older, you can't carry a 40-watt tube amp to a gig, so then you take the model and you come with this. Yeah.
That's true. This guitar looks so magnificent. I mean, amazing. And it's 40 years old, right?
It's 40 years old, yeah.
Wow.
It's 40 years old.
So Yamaha doesn't make this kind of guitars anymore. They make this Pacifica and all stuff.
Yeah. This is a true beauty.
Yeah.
It's worthy of, it's a great, it's extremely heavy, as you can see.
Yeah.
It's been battered, played in the pubs of Japan, gold hardware, and through the neck. There's a brass block inside to hold the sustain. It's an amazing sounding guitar. I think I should play it more often.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks, Joel, for helping me bring it out. I think I'll use it now.
My pleasure. So, Mark, if there is a beginner guitarist, an intermediate, and an expert, what advice or what one exercise would you ask him to practice every day daily for the rest of his life?
There are a lot of exercises, and the internet is full of them, all sorts. John Petrucci's finger exercises, again, very complex. But I would definitely begin is making sure that the left hand and the right hand talk to each other. Because very often, if you ask a student, when you run, which leg is faster, you'll say, what sort of a question is it? But for us guitar players, very often, sometimes we are very quick in crossing the strings with the left hand.
Right.
And sometimes the right hand is slightly falling behind.
I see.
Particularly for a beginner. Or some people have a very quick right hand, they can actually cross the string with a lot of speed, and the left hand sort of goes slowly. So it's very important to get both these hands to talk to each other.
Right.
And secondly, if you drum a pattern with your first and second fingers, you'll find you can do it pretty easily. But if you combine 1 and 3, 1 and 4, 2 and 4, 2 and 3, you'll find that there is a varying efficiency between the digits.
Correct.
So that's another exercise that we should look at for getting this basic things. So I would say start off with this. Up and down. 1 and 2, then 1 and 3. 1 and 4. So you keep going across the strings back and forth to improve that. Then the second one is using a metronome. It's extremely important that you use a metronome and play these exercises. Say, for example, if you want to develop your right hand, then you make sure that putting on a metronome, you play a chromatic exercise. 1 note per beat, 2 notes per beat, right up to the 12th fret. 3 notes per beat, 4 notes per beat. So you see your right hand is doing all the work. Then you get the left hand. 1 note per beat, 2 notes, 3 notes.
I see.
Your metronome speed. In fact, your student, if his metronome speed is stuck at 60 for 6 months, then you know he hasn't practiced. And then 4 notes per beat. And so on and so forth. So these are the basic exercises.
Right. And they can also improve upon the speed, like from 60 to 65 to 70, 80.
But accuracy and precision is the hallmark. You don't go after speed. You go after precision, getting the notes clear. That's important. Then there is legato. But that's a little later. So those are the basic exercises that I would teach as far as this is concerned.
So, what are your hopes for the future of music in Ahmedabad and in your own musical journey?
The future is absolutely bright. We have there's enough for music composers, there's enough, people are talking about AI and all, but I think that's okay, we talk about that on another time, but there is enough of opportunities for young musicians teaching, performing live, all over, as it never had been before. So Ahmedabad is definitely moving in that direction. I'm not sure how much of blues and rock is happening, but yes, the other musical genres there is a scope there. There are a lot of music teachers in Ahmedabad.
Absolutely.
Everyone's opening music schools. Things are happening there. So there is it. And as for me, I have started my journey back into learning classical music and fingerstyle. And I recently acquired a classical guitar that also triggers guitar synthesizer because that's in tune with my thing of using a guitar synthesizer. So I'm trying to learn classical music and play pieces using a guitar synthesizer, which is very unusual.
Lovely. Lovely. Do you have any upcoming projects or performances you're excited about?
As I told you, my journey with classical music and fingerstyle and using a guitar synth to play those pieces, orchestral pieces, is something that now I'm looking forward to doing, and I'm going to explore more of that. And of course, we'll keep playing with my band, Contra Blue, which we keep performing all across. So we'll continue doing that.
Amazing.
And I also do a solo set, the Joe Satriani tribute set, where I do Joe Satriani covers.
Amazing.
And yes, I'll keep learning more of Joe Satriani tunes and try and perform them live. So that's what's on the cards.
Terrific. And at the end, Mark, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience and about your life in music?
Well, as I told you, if you love playing this instrument, you'll keep practicing it, and it'll make a big difference to you. You know, music is truly the background score of our life. When you listen to a song, you think about a particular time in your life and say, I remember I was in college then and that was it.
Yes.
So music is so important to us, and it's I think it's a very critical and integral part of us. And it drives, what we do. You see a lot of professionals who don't even play an instrument, but they're listening to music when they're working. So for that, music has a meaning, and then being able to play it is a bonus. So I hope I've answered that question.
So Mark, what changes you have seen in the students' approach to learning music from early days in 80s to now in this YouTube era?
The difference is the eyes and the ears. When we were learning in the 80s, there was no YouTube and there was no television and not even books. So we had to play a record over and over again to listen, to figure out what was going on.
Right.
I remember 1977 when my mum brought Van Halen's Eruption and put it on and we heard Eruption. We couldn't figure out what he was up to. We never knew that he was using double-handed tapping.
Yes.
We could only hear it and we said, how do you play this live? Many years later, Nataraj Bookstall brought in Guitar Player magazine and then we found out double-handed tapping.
Wow.
Today, kids look at a guitar player. They use their eyes first, they don't use their ears. And they see, oh, his hand is here and his hand is here. So they use their eyes first to figure out what he's playing. And then they hear it and then they play it. Which is good or bad, I don't want to say, but it's important to develop your ears.
Right.
And not only use your eyes and say, that's what he's doing. So that's the difference. But yes, there's a lot more music material available today for a student to become very good at his instrument as it was in the past. So, and the Instagram guitar players are crazy. They are brilliant. A little bit of advice also: you'll probably give up the guitar if you see some of those amazing guitar players. So just stick to your lane and go at your own pace.
Right, correct. Another very important question from the viewers' point is that you have been in Ahmedabad for a long period of time. Why didn't you choose to go out in some foreign country or let's say Mumbai to make your career in music?
For me, just playing the instrument was my career.
Lovely.
That's all. And I wanted a comfortable place to live and play my guitar in peace. Bombay is a little too hectic. And I could do quite a lot. We used to do a lot of shows. Our drummer, by the way, was Kalyan Pathak, who is now a very eminent drummer in the US. He's played for Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
We used to go down to Bombay, go down to Ranjit's house, watch him play, do shows, and come back to Ahmedabad and live. Ahmedabad is a very nice city. It's a comfortable place to live, and you can play the guitar anywhere. Like I met a friend in IM. He says you can sit under a tree and play the guitar. You don't have to be anywhere else. So it doesn't really matter. Whatever you want to do.
Exactly. So guys, I feel that being a rock star doesn't just mean having flashy cars, having flashy guitars and stuff. You could be a rock star sitting at your home just playing the music for your own satisfaction or your own soul. I think that's what you mean to say, right?
Now the flashy cars and all, I'm not sure about that, but having fun, yes, you can have a lot of fun. Yeah, that's for sure.
All right. So you mentioned that there were 40,000 crowd in MS University and you played the concert. I guess that was the fundraisers concert, right?
Yeah, for drought relief.
Yeah, relief. So what was it all about?
First of all, looking at 40,000 people was one of the biggest crowds ever.
True.
Before us was the Purple Flower. They opened.
Wow.
Then there was another band from Bombay and then we took the stage. It was amazing, that place. The atmosphere was so vibrant. And they had a brilliant sound system. They got Roger Drago from Bombay. I mean, your viewers should know Roger Drago was the man, who used to have the best sound systems there. And, it was just an amazing experience. And Baroda, can you believe it? But yes, MS University was rocking that day. And we did collect a lot of money for drought relief.
Great.
So, yeah.
And then during that set, what songs were you playing in that particular show?
We used to do 4 or 5 of our own compositions.
Okay.
Which was See the Light, which was dedicated to Nelson Mandela, Hitting It Harder, which came on MTV, and a couple of other compositions, and then Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Motorhead, Jimi Hendrix, Deep Purple. So we used to cover those bands. Were pretty popular then, so we used to do those bands, and the crowd loved the music and they had fun. With a lot of rock energy, even if you don't you've never heard those songs, but you will groove to it.
Right.
So yes.
Amazing. So Mark, if someone wants to learn the guitar from you or want to connect with you online, how can they do that?
Well, on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Mark Haydon, VG99. I've named it after, so you can connect me there.
Right.
YouTube has a similar name, and on Facebook, so you can just get in touch with me. And they can see all the videos and all. My Facebook and Instagram and YouTube is only music and music and music. So it's there.
So guys, you know where you want to connect. Whenever you want to learn music, you can just connect with Mark online, or you can learn more about him on YouTube, on your Instagram and on Facebook. So guys, as you can see that I'm bringing all the legends of Ahmedabad on my channel Life Force. And the effort I'm putting in this channel is because I want people to see what actual passion is like. People have been hearing that you have to be passionate, you have to be passionate, but a lot of times the questions are asked to me like, sir, how to be passionate? How do I figure out what I wish to do? And what you see in my videos, when I interview the people you see have the passion for years, and the passion would stay with you forever if you just follow your passion, and you'll be leading the happiest life. So keep on checking this vlog channel, and I'll be back with more. Cheers.